All right, guys, we're going to do or continue Superman Batman issue number 17. This is a continuous storyline that we, continued. Let's dive right in because the series is good. I mean, this storyline is fun and good, but it has one big problem that I'm going to address. So, Superman has a chat in the last issue with Darkseid, and Kingdom Come Superman, right? So, this is basically an alternate reality. And his goal is basically to make contact with Bruce because Bruce screwed up the timeline. And at these two, Superman and Batman, was brought up by villains from the 31st century. Yeah, the enemies of the Legion of Superheroes, right? Lightning Lord, Cosmic King, and Saturn Queen, right? And by killing his parents' murderers, the parents lived, Batman disappeared because the timeline was erased, and Bruce Wayne was still alive and happy with his parents in this timeline. But all these people do not know Superman because at that time when Superman was, in that time period, he just disappeared, right? He just came back because he was chatting with Lightning Lord, with Darkseid and stuff. So all these heroes from the past that we probably know, like Sergeant Rock and the Easy Company, they do not know Superman. But this Superman is not the virtuous, good Superman that we know. He's still, although he knows that he's wrong, he's still a tyrant and a killer. Although he's slowly changing, I guess, into the Superman that he was before because the timeline is trying to correct itself. And even Lois Lane doesn't want to do anything with Supes. He says, I don't know any capes. And it seems that Sergeant Rock is still blasting this building with all these innocent people inside. Crazy. So, and then he realizes that Raja Ghul has taken over the world. And not long ago, Batman and Superman statues was here because they were the tyrants of the world, right? He says, it was Raja Ghul, one of the Batman's oldest and deadliest enemies. I can only assume that with no Batman, there was no one to stop Ra's from seizing power. So he wants to go to Smallville, and then he sees not the Kent farm, but a concentration camp. And he says, what are you waiting for? You can go. I freed you. But they don't do that. And then he's being attacked by the Blackhawks, and they, of course, do not know him either. But yes, you can see he just has no problem killing them by blasting through their ships, right? So he decides later on, Halloween and Wayne Manor, to go to the Wayne's Manor's house, and he's meeting with, accidentally, Thomas Wayne, right? Bruce's dad, dressed up as a Man-Bat, because Clark Small remembers what Bruce said to him, once upon a time, although he barely speaks anything about his parents, right? And he's just doing the playboy thing, right? And he says, so Jarvis says, you have a guest, sir. Yes, who is it? He says he's a reporter. That's a shame. I was hoping Selena would pop by. But any friend of the Fourth Estate is a friend of mine. Bruce Wayne, he says. Clark Kent. Have we met before, Mr. Kent? Your face seems familiar. He says, no, not that I'm aware of. Well, I meet a lot of people, particularly the feminine type, and I can't remember their names either. That's a sick burn. Anyway, he also talks about Tommy Elliott, who's now a friend of him, although we know that he's becoming Hush, an enemy. So Clark says, hey, Bruce, I need to talk to you private, and it's a matter of life and death. Oh, you sound serious. Okay, they are going to this, one of the rooms, and he says, my father tells me you work for the Daily Star. I heard about that incident with the cape. Terrible news. Probably gave you a hell of a headline, though, right? He says, you have to come back with me, Bruce. That's clever, how you changed the tuner of your voice. But I'm afraid I'm not going anywhere with you, Mr. Kent. I have guests. So he reveals himself as the cape, right? And he reminds Bruce of what happened in the alley. And he says, how do you know that? Think, you have gone to see a movie. Your mother wore pearls. A man stepped out of the shadows. He had a gun. look me in the eyes and tell me you don't remember that night. He says, what is it what you want? So he takes him to this alley, right? I don't know how you talked me into coming back here. Because somewhere inside you, you know the truth. You know how things ought to be, and that the source of the world's ills came from something you did. I wish you stopped hovering. Men aren't supposed to fly. There was a time you didn't believe that. I spent years in therapy to forget that. You need to push past all that. Why is it so important to you? He says to Soups. He doesn't answer. And then Bruce remembers what happened in the alley, that Joe Chill, right, attacks his parents, but then a man comes out of the shadow with a cape and kills Joe Chill, changing history, right? Bruce, you have changed. You changed what happened that night. Something else was supposed to happen. Something horrible. Now, this is the part that I think this is going a little bit off the rails. And with that, I mean, he remembers that part when Joe Chill killed his parents. Now, that is impossible. Why? Because the original Batman, well, not original because he was corrupted by, the people from the future, has killed Joe Chill, therefore he disappeared. And Bruce, here, young Bruce, has lived a full life with his parents. So there is no way he could remember what happened here. And now he's also remembered that he was Batman, which is impossible because this guy was never be Batman. He never trained to be the Batman. But somehow, maybe everything is now merging because of those memories, which doesn't good. The book doesn't, the creator, the writer doesn't do a good of a job, sorry, I'm blanking, explaining that to me, to the reader. So I was a little bit confused by that. Anyway, so he says, I need to get my costume, and he doesn't want to go back to the manor, seeing his parents. He says, if we're going to take on Ra's al Ghul, we're going to need the others. Who? The Justice League. But they are dead. All of them. How could that have happened? It took years, a decade of war. So basically, Batman says that he started small, in Europe and then China, swarmed all across the world. It was as if he knew everyone's weakness. They're a secret identity. No one escaped. It wasn't just that I couldn't remember who Batman was. Your decision to time jump to this present means you missed those years as well. You share the blame. Well, I'm not sure about that. I didn't want to alter the timeline any more than we already had. One life touches so many, Clark. If the heroes are dead, why did you bring me here? To dig them up. All right. I like this classic Batman costume, that his father wore. Nice touch, by the way. So they go to, I believe, the Fortress of Solitude. I mean, that's the only, or this is I don't know, somewhere else, does it say? No, well, anyway. So they know where it is because people are afraid to attack him. And so this is happening, and he says, Nightwing, Batgirl, Huntress, they simply don't exist, Robin. Superman thinks, I can't imagine what Bruce is going through. He spent so many more years now when his parents alive. He says, my body, I kept it in shape and remember all the moves, but I haven't trained. But he clearly, kicks ass and kills people like nobody's business, which is basically contradicting what he's saying here. I saw something in Bruce's eyes when he was out of the pool at Wayne Manor. Something I didn't think I ever seen there. Bruce was happy. I took it all away. He was every night right to be angry with me, even hate me. And then, and then they resurrected part of the Justice League in this Lazarus pit. Now, if these guys are dead, why aren't they decomposing, right? I mean, they look particularly fresh for dead people. But they do not remember who they are and who the Batman and Supermans are, right? So Martian Manhunter says, who are you? And they say friends. And they are why does he still have his ring? Isn't it, if he's being buried by Raj's people, take away his ring or something? Not sure. Anyway, so he's breaking in, but Batman says, Ra's is mine. You owe me that much. Just be careful if you die in this timeline. The thought did occur to me. All right, confronting Ra. But then Ra says, I was expecting you. Oh no. Then you should know who we are and how you will not survive this night. Martian Manhunter realizes there is something in the shadows. He says, as powerful as you know me to be, did you actually think I held this entire planet in my thrall without help? Well, who could that be? And, oh no! It's the villains from the future that raised Superman and Batman in the corrupted timeline. And we're gonna then, except for these two are new, but these three, right? And he has a kryptonite sword. Right. So we continue that in the next issue. Guys, I like it, except for that particular part when the merging of the timelines or the brains or the memories of Bruce here. That doesn't make any sense to me. Still a good story. We're going to figure it out in issue 18 coming soon. Guys, thank you so much for watching as always. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.